Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Adi, and today I have another awesome Series 11 team report with another special guest. We have Jude Lee, aka PlayerVGC or Coalossal VGC. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you.
And do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
So I'm 16 years old. I'm from Singapore. I've cut quite a lot of tours in recent times. I started playing competitive in 2016, but I only start tours and start taking it seriously in around 2019. And I start tournaments in 2020. My results include bunch of number one finish in the ladder, a top four at the regional qualifiers of the first ever Asia Players Cup. I just cut a lot of tours recently, all using Coalossal.
Yeah, it's been a really impressive run. I know that you just top cut the Victory Road Series 11 challenge this past weekend. You made it to day 2 of the Liberty Note Championships this past weekend, and then just yesterday, I don't have this up on screen, but you got top 4 in Joe UX9's Thursday night challenge. I guess it was Friday morning for you.
Yeah,
so
really good. I'd rather do something else in my morning.
But that's an incredible run for just a 6-day period. And of course, you did it all using the same team, using Coalossal. So first off, tell me, why did you decide to use Coalossal in this format?
Okay, so it came naturally to me because I've been using Coalossal for since Series 7. So Series 7, 8, 9, 10. No, 10 I didn't use. And 11. So of course I want to run it back again. And I did have success in Series 8 with Coalossal, but it was using a very gimmicky team that, I mean, it still worked out in the end because it even though it's a best of one team, ladder is all about best of one. So I ended up placing first and second in the showdown ladder at end of the season with that team. But I decided not to run it back. So I wanted to come up with something different. But I feel like Coalossal is still really good in Series 11/8. It's not as good as Series 7/9 because there are more threats like Kyogre and Groudon that can check it more reliably. But it's still really strong, especially if you can play it properly. And also one of the things about Coalossal is that its residual damage, there's not many things that are immune to its residual damage. Blastoise, for example, Urshifu doesn't take any residual damage, which is quite troublesome. And other stuff like Venusaur, opposing Venusaur doesn't take chip damage, but with Coalossal, almost everything takes chip damage because there are not that many rock types that are viable in this format other than Cold.
Yeah, that's true. And so I think Coalossal, of course, did really well in the regional stages of Players Cup 3, and then a bunch of people brought it to the finals and all did very poorly with it. And my thought was that, everyone who had done well in this tournament had kind of figured out their Coalossal matchup, had really game planned for it. And it was struggling against the top teams in the metagame. So can you tell me about how you built this team and how you approached beating those top teams in the metagame while you were team building?
So whenever I build my teams, I build them to with thoughts of the meta teams in mind. So basically what I did for this tournament was I was thinking how can I want to counter three to four things, which is Kyogre, Sun, Calido, and Sun includes Hot Dog and Venodon.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth team it really varies because there are a lot of other meta teams like Duo Weather, stuff like that. So I want to counter mainly those. So I took Moltres because I feel that it has a very positive matchup into Rain, but only with the Assault Vest because you need Assault Vest to have extra survivability. It's a very good matchup into Rain. That's the first thing. It can work against Sun, even though I end up not really bringing it that often because Venusaurs usually have Cobra Berry and they can sleep you. It hard counters Calyrex Shadow teams even if they have Thunders. The only variant of Calyrex Shadow is if they have physical Regieleki, but that's not that common.
So, well, that is the one that's cut the last 2 Desafia, so it might be rising in popularity. But
no,
at the moment, yeah.
But you can't. But most cold teams will lose to that anyway, so there's not much counterplay. But in general, it does counter most of the anti-cold stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and then of course the other 5 Pokemon are pretty standard. Of course, we have seen some variants with Amoonguss over Rillaboom. What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like Amoonguss is actually pretty good, but the problem with Amoonguss is that it doesn't help your like. Yes, Rage Powder is good, but people can run safety goggles, and I feel like if you just with a lot of Thunderous going around, like if you just taunt it, it's like a sitting duck and it doesn't really do much. But with Rillaboom, you can actually pick up a lot of KOs with Grassy Glide, even against resisted targets.
Right. And of course, the really interesting thing is that in order to fit the Moltres on the team, you had to drop the Dragapult, which was previously a really integral part of these Coalossal strategies. Why did you think the Dragapult was expendable?
I think, okay, so out of the 2 modes of activating Coalossal, actually technically 3 because of self-flare blitz, I felt like I didn't need self that much because like I think if you know how to maneuver your pieces of the team around good enough, you don't really need surf. And you definitely need Aqua Jet, so I'm not getting rid of Urshifu. I just feel that with Dragapult, my matchup against Kalido is like just so weak. Because I don't have a dark move for my Insane. And like I feel like Moltres is a much better airstream user, even though it doesn't get like Phantasms and stuff like that. Phantasm is really good synergy with Zacian and Urshifu. But like I feel like just getting a more tanky member that can hold the team better in the hyper offense matchups is very valuable.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like obviously if you get to do Dragapult stuff where you click Surf and then Coalossal Dynamaxes and immediately like powers through teams, you're probably winning the game. But at this point, everyone knows Coalossal is a threat. Everyone has a game plan for that strategy. And if you don't get to do exactly that, it's kind of a dead Pokemon. It doesn't do very much. And so
which one?
The Dragapult.
Yeah, because like if you're activating Coal, like without Max, you're kind of weak.
Right. Whereas Urshifu has a lot more flexibility, and you can even set up Cole, turn 3, turn 4 of the game.
Yeah. And I feel the difference between Deepalt and Moltres is that, like, let's say you bring Deepalt into Rain, he's not going to survive like very much. But if you bring Moltres, I can survive like 2 or 3 more hits. In addition to that, so like it really allows for a lot more flexibility and more room for error as well. Like, in case you didn't know, Moltres only takes like out of 384 HP, I believe, it only takes around like 90 HP from a Kyogre full power Water Spot.
Oh wow, that just tanks
so
it.
Like that's how easy is the Kyogre matchup.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually argue that Moltres is like as good as Yveltal, because even though you don't have the recovery, like if you are drawing in damage, because of course it's a Dynamax target, but then they're also activating Berserk, which actually makes you like really strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the benefit of running Moltres over Yveltal is that you also get to run Zacian.
Yeah.
Which is just the best Pokemon in the game. So
yeah, it's the best restricted.
Yeah. And so while the 5 Pokemon, Moltres, of course, an interesting choice. The other 5 Pokemon are pretty standard. Your movesets do have a lot of variability. Can you talk me through why you ran the moves that you did, and also maybe touch on the EV spreads?
Okay, so it's quite stock standard, this kind of team, but like there are some variations over like some other ways you could run this team. So Moltres with AV is quite cool. Like I could run Goggles and Life Orb, like some other people have. Like Wolfie Glick, he ran Life Orb on his PC2 team. I just don't think Orb or Safety Goggles are as good as Assault Vest. Like the ability to tank so much damage is very valuable in a format where like things like Kyogre is running around so much.
Right, Wolf didn't have to deal with Kyogre when he won.
Yeah, I know, but some people tried to transfer here,
and
I just don't think it's that good. Also, you can do with Dynamax Eleki a lot easier.
Do you remember what the EV spread on your Moltres does?
Okay, so it's quite like I just try to hit some benchmarks on the Moltres stats. So special attack is to hit 150. 150 special attack is quite solid, I think. Your speed is to like is so that I can outspeed Cinderace when I'm +1. And then I just invest a lot in HP. That's all.
So, and then Moltres, the move pool. Moltres has a pretty diverse move pool. It can run a lot of different moves. And you chose to run 3 dark moves and Air Slash. Can you talk me through the choice of that?
I just don't think you need Fiery Ref because like foul play is so good into matchups where like you can actually do like a lot of damage into physical attackers. Like if he leads Blastoise Zacian, I can just foul play and Surging Strikes. And it does a lot more damage than Airstream and Surging Strikes because Zacian's attack is insane. The foul play is also good against like if the Landorus wants a Swords Dance, you can punish it.
Right. Yeah. And then of course, Snarl's mandatory. Sucker Punch is interesting. Did Sucker Punch come up a lot for you?
Okay, it did help me like in some cases, like if I'm at like sometimes in the Coalossal mirror match, I will bring Moltres, then I boost up a lot, and then I Sucker Punch the 1 HP Urshifu because I'm faster than him. Then his Coalossal can't set up.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Sucker Punch is like, or these priority moves are interesting because I feel like Focus Sash in general has dropped off a bit in this format that is filled with residual damage, but Coalossal is like the one team that still gets to utilize it to its full ability with the Urshifu.
Sucker Punch is also good in like picking up chip damage to make things weaker to glide. I mean, more like easy to kill with glide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. And then moving on to the Zacian, you chose to run Play Rough instead of something like Substitute or Swords Dance. I don't think Coalossal normally runs Swords Dance. Can you tell me about why you chose to run that?
I think Play Rough is really good for the Palkia matchup, even though it didn't really pop up that much in the tournament. Like in ladder, is really popular. And Play Rough also helps to hit things like it's a stab move, so like you can actually hit Blastoise out of his max for like a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's just very it's very good against those dragon types that don't really take much damage from cold.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Substitute is really that good because my team, and because like I feel Zacian has a role of more of like cleanup.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then you also are running just like max speed, max attack, Jolly Nature, which is in sharp contrast to like teams like, the Hot Dog team that's running like 4 attack Adamant and just purely invested in bulk. Why are you choosing to run that?
So one of the things that I get to outspeed all Dragapult, I always win the mirror match against Zacian. Unless they win the speed tie. Another thing to note is that at +1 speed, you outspeed Tailwind Urshifu. At +1 from Moltres Max Airstream, you outspeed all non-Scarf Ogres in Tailwind. Yeah, that's about it. That's comes out very helpful because in a lot of these matchups, the speed investment becomes very good and very helpful. And like the thing is, without screens, right? Like even if I run max HP, I'm still dying to Wildfire. I'm still dying to Max Flare. It won't really change that much. So might as well like invest in more attack.
Mm-hmm.
And Behemoth Blade is always going to be a 2-hit KO anyways.
Yeah, that is true. It does so much damage. And then the Rillaboom is pretty standard, but you chose to run Woodhammer over like a flex move, and then Protect as well instead of running. Well, Protect I guess is pretty standard on Miracle Seed, but can you talk me through the choices on Rillaboom?
Protect is really good for stalling out Dynamax. Woodhammer is like, because I mainly use Rillaboom as a killer of water types. So I don't need any other coverage move. U-turn is sometimes helpful, I guess, because like you can pivot out into cold and stuff like that, or Insane. But like Woodhammer, the extra damage is really good. Like for example, in my Victory Road top 8 against Pokeraf, Woodhammer was really key because I managed to one-shot his G-Max Blastoise when Dynamax. And I will definitely not be able to do that with Grassy Glide.
I've definitely been surprised by Woodhammer Rillaboom on the ladder, where I think I can just live any attack from it. And so, yeah, I mean, the damage really does make a difference. Although that being said, yeah, like you mentioned, U-turn. I feel like Coalossal teams with this like really powerful Fire, Water, Grass core in the past have been very positioning based, where you really want to pivot and find a spot that you can optimally proc your Coalossal. So it's interesting that you're choosing
I
not to
also
run that.
tried running U-turn. Like some of my friends on Showdown have been running U-turn AV.
Mhm.
But like I feel like Wood Hammer is just too good to like pass out on.
So if you wanted U-turn, you would say drop Protect and just run AV.
But it's like without Protect, it makes a lot of the matchups more dicey because you can't protect.
Yeah, I can imagine like letting your opponents take an extra turn of the residual damage with Protect is really valuable at times.
Or stalling out like a Lando's D-Max.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in the endgame.
Yeah, makes sense. And then, so the Incineroar, of course, you chose to run Taunt over a Dark move, and then you chose to run Shuckaberry. Can you talk to me about those choices?
Shuckaberry is very good against like... Obviously, it's not as good with Calyrex Unnerf, but it's very good against Landorus, very good against things like Kyurem, Palkia, who want to use Earth Power on you. Okay, not so much Palkia because you can just Geyser, but Kyurem, the occasional like weakness policy Zekrom team. It's not that common, but some people use it. Max Quicks, basically. The only thing it doesn't save it against you against is Calyrex, but like you can check Calyrex with Moltres.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. I imagine that having when you have two fire types on the team, and a Zacian on the team, having one that can take a ground type attack is pretty valuable.
Yeah, exactly. So in this team, I have 2 to 3 switch-ins every game into a ground type move.
Right. And so, why did you choose to run Taunt over like a Dark move, for example?
Taunt is really good against Among Us. Yeah, I can make a lot of plays with Taunt, like taunting Among Us, taunting Porygon 2. I can taunt the Grimmsnarl to prevent T-Wave. Yeah, and then Taunt also comes in those situations where I want to set up an endgame with Rillaboom. So like the Urshifu can't protect.
Right.
For example. Then like I just glide it.
Yeah. And I guess you already have your Dark coverage from the Moltres, so you don't really need it as much for like the Calyrex matchup here.
Yeah, don't really need it.
And then last but not least, of course, there is Coalossal. And so I've seen some Coalossal run a lot more bulk, maybe run a Modest Nature. And you're choosing to run Max Speed Timid. And then also you're choosing to run Solar Beam over or the Earth Power, which is the kind of the other coverage move that tends to run. Why did you make those choices?
So Solar Beam, I feel like is much better in Series 11 because like some of the threats that you needed Earth Power for, like aside from opposing Coalossal, which you can actually kill with Vocalith, it's because like for example in Series 7 or Series 9 compared to Series 8/11, there are threats like Nihilego and Heatran where you need Max Quick for. But like there are not that many threats compared to the ones that you need Solar Beam for. Like Gastrodon has been popping around a lot in the ladder. And like Solar Beam really helps because not many of them actually run Rindo. Leftovers is very popular. Then you can also do a lot of damage to Kyogre, even though you generally don't want to bring it, but if you want to bring it, that's an option. Against Groudon, it can also help outside of Max.
Mm-hmm.
Against Urshifu, depending on what the item is. Also, another thing about Solar Beam is that you can actually reduce Earthquake's damage.
That's true. Yeah, and you already have a Rillaboom on the team, so you can also, it might get boosted by that as well, or you might be able to set up Grassy Train.
What I do sometimes, like, it's very niche in terms of the scenarios, but sometimes I max overgrowth something, and then Grassy Glide gets the immediate in between the turn priority.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, something else to keep out for. I know that Earth Power, I think the main use of Earth Power isn't necessarily to hit specific things, but it's for that special defense boost. But I guess that might be more useful on a bulkier Coalossal set.
I mean, I just don't think it's as viable right now.
Sure. And then you are choosing to run Max Speed Timid. Why is that?
Timid is good because you can outspeed, like, it feels bad if you cannot outspeed Zard under Tailwind. I'm killing the things that I need to kill without Modest anyways. Basically, you outspeed everything that's 180 and that's below 180 speed, which is a lot of the main threats in the meta. You know?
Right. I mean, that also, another big one is Thundurus too.
That
hits 179.
And
yeah. And so I guess that makes a lot of sense. Again, very well thought out, very optimized to beat the existing metagame.
Wait. The thing about Modest or Timid is that like with Timid, I'm already killing like Modest makes the KOs like just overkill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't need the extra.
Yeah, I had I was testing out a Tornadus team on ladder, and was very upset when I found out Coalossal outsped my Tornadus at +2 speed. I lost that game because of that. So I can definitely see, like, it definitely comes up quite often to outspeed like the 179 and lower speed tiers. And so again, very well thought out team. It's very optimized to beat the metagame. Can you talk me through the game plans against the common teams, most notably the different Sun variants, Calyrex Shadow, and then the Zacian Blastoise and the Zacian Gastrodon teams that have been popping up?
So I'll start with the hardest matchup, Zacian Gastrodon. Those teams usually have a special Lando, so you can't intimidate it to like stop it, but which is very hard. But what I usually like to do is I will lead Moltres Insane, so that way I have taunt pressure on either the Grimmsnarl or Gastrodon, and I also have parting shot pressure. And Snarl is helpful against a special variant of Lando. So usually that matchup is the way it works is that I want to get an airstream boost onto Zacian or just get it in when I can't get T-Waved and when Lando doesn't have an airstream boost. So like turn 1 you Snarl and taunt and then like just try to pivot out into Zacian and max your Moltres before the enemy Zacian can come in. That way you can force a knockout onto the Lando. While Zacian, I mean while your Zacian gets speed boost. Sometimes I can even max Urshifu if I want to get attack boost and nullify Intimidate and break through the Gastrodon. But that matchup is literally like that team is was built to counter Coalossal. So like
I mean, it's built to beat a lot of things. It's really tough for Sun to play into it as well. So I mean, it's just a really good team. But
it's probably the hardest counter to Coalossal teams right now.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and it seems like you've got the right idea in that, just like picking your spots and trying to find that one turn where you can break through it. Because it is like, even though it's a very solid defensive core, they're not using like the most powerful Pokemon, and so if you can get them out of position for one turn, that's really enough sometimes.
Yeah, it is. Okay, against Zacian Blastoise, quite a lot of that matchup comes down to whether the Blastoise is Orb or is it Wakan. If it's Wakan, then I can actually survive Cannonade through Protect plus chip damage. But if it's Life Orb, then chances are that I can't. Is a roll. So if it's not Life Orb, I not Life Orb or Wave Incense or Mystic Water, then I'll just Protect and activate a free policy. Then I can just Surging Strike Thunderous, which is a 2-hit KO, then get free damage on the Blastoise. But if it's Life Orb, what I'll do is just target down the Thunderous turn 1. Try to get rid of the T-Wave and Eerie Impulse pressure as early as possible. Then that's quite a free win.
All right, makes sense.
Also, one of the perks of that matchup is that Urshifu can't get hit by Cannonade damage, which makes it easy for me to play, even if the Zacian has played rough.
Yeah, it means that the residual damage isn't breaking your focus sash, which is just absolutely vital.
Yeah, so okay, for the Sun matchups, is very 50-50, especially the Venudon, because they can max 3 targets and like all 3 are very viable. So it really depends on who does he max. What I like to do is go Zacian Insane, target the slot next to the Groudon, and then just parting shot the Groudon. So that way, like at -2, even if Groudon will be like doing no damage to your Coalossal, and then I can just target around Groudon. If he Swords Dances, I can just target the Groudon and force out the max. And another thing I've noticed is that not all the Charizards run max quick. Some of them just run like 2 fire and 1 flying move. So that makes it a lot easier against Cole. For Grimmsnarl, no, not Grimmsnarl. For Hot Dog, like usually they will lead like Venusaur, Grimmsnarl. What I will do in that situation is try to pivot out your Zacian into Coalossal to take the max flare. Yeah, then it's quite free from there. Because usually turn 1 is like Quake usually isn't enough against bulky Zacian, and they won't know your set. So if you can bait out the max flare, which is what they will usually go for to kill the one-shot the Zacian and kill it, like you just win the game if you activate Steam Engine.
Yeah. And then you've already talked about how essential Moltres is in both the Calyrex matchup and the Kyogre matchups. But do you have like a common lead or a common game plan there?
Kyogre and Calyrex, they just use Moltres. I usually Moltres Zation so I can pressure like the Thundurus as well in the Calyrex matchup. So like the Zation will never die from the Calyrex, even if it's Specs or Life Orb. And then I can just get a free Behemoth Blade into the Thundurus. Behemoth Blade plus Grassy Glide is usually enough to kill Thundurus, so maybe you can add Airstream there for extra safety, but yeah, usually those calcs work.
All right.
Kyogre is pretty easy. If it's Scarf, you can max Airstream. Usually you can tell if there's Scarf by the Intrepid Sword, which one goes first. So if it's not Scarf, then you can just max Airstream, get a speed boost, then do damage with Zacian, outspeeding it under Tailwind. If it's Scarf, then you just target it with Airstream, so you weaken its Water Spot and force it to max.
Mm-hmm.
Then when it maxes, it loses the Scarf boost.
Okay. And so that covers most of the metagame. Obviously, there's some other stuff that you'll see here and there, but I think Coalossal is just so powerful that a lot of times the more rogue options that are often very targeted to beat Sun don't have as much of a shot. I know that in top 8 of the Joe UX9 Tour, you beat a Kyurem player that I had lost to earlier in Swiss.
Oh, the Domingo?
Yeah, because I was running Sun, and I was like, I have no matchup here. Wow, this is crazy. But Kyurem doesn't do much in front of the Coalossal.
No, actually, I didn't bring Cole in that matchup.
Oh, really?
I brought Moltres because his team is all full of mediocre speed tiers. So if I just bring Zacian and get a speed boost onto it, I just win.
That's also true. Yeah, Zacian also beats Kyurem.
Yeah. And my Zacian is faster than Kyurem in Tailwind after +1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that's a good overview of the matchups. Can you talk to me about one or two notable sets that you played throughout the many tournaments that you top cut?
Probably my top cut match against Torviv, because it was such a weird matchup with it's a very it's a very dicey matchup when you play a mirror match. So game 1 I managed to call his lead of a Urshfu Riller, and I let Moltres. Then I just won the game because I have more speed than him. Game 2, I honestly I just got a bit unlucky there because I got crit by Grassy Glide. Then in game 3, I forgot how bulky my Instinct was, and close combat didn't actually kill it. So yeah, then that's how I lost. But yeah, I mean, this just shows how good this team is, I think.
Right. And again, if Coalossal, it's so powerful. It's something you always have to know your matchup for. And as soon as people start disrespecting it just a little bit, it always pops back into a format because it's just, again, its residual damage is so powerful, and it has the ability to steamroll teams and that are trying to play passively against it. It's just insane. And yeah, so that's all. Those are all the questions that I have. Do you have any final words or shout outs that you want to give?
I want to shout Torviv because he for someone who uses Steam for just he called me on Discord to ask for question about the team. So I just 1 hour before the UX9 tour. So I was telling him all the matchups, and he actually got finals with it.
That's awesome.
And the fine thing is that both of us were 2-in-1. So both of us had to win our last 2 rounds of Swiss to actually win. And we actually got, both got in, and we got placed unfortunately in the same side of the bracket.
Yeah, and you too can be like Torviv and pick up this team after just watching this half-an-hour team report, and maybe win a tournament. You never know. But of course, the rental code is on screen right now, and the Poke Paste is in the description down below if you want to try this out. Strongly recommend it because this is currently the best Coalossal team, and one of the best teams in the format. It just always is. Coalossal never dies. And so, yeah, that's all I got to say. Thank you all for watching. And until next time, I will see you all later.